Don't tell everyone your story, because not everyone is meant to carry the weight of it. Some people listen out of curiosity, some out of comparison, and some out of doubt. Very few listen with respect. Your story is not light. It was built through pain, discipline, running through the park, sacrifice, and moments where quitting would have been easier than continuing. That kind of journey does not need an audience. It needs protection. We live in a time where sharing is confused with strength, where speaking is mistaken for progress, where announcing intentions feels like movement. But real growth is quiet. Real strength develops away from noise. When you tell everyone your story while it is still being written, you expose something fragile. You invite opinions into a space that should be reserved for focus. And focus, once broken, is difficult to rebuild. Not everyone asking questions wants to understand you. Some want to measure you. Some want to reduce you. Some want to feel better about their own lack of movement. When you explain yourself to them, you give away energy that should be invested in becoming better. You turn inward progress into outward performance. Over time, performance replaces the work. Silence is not hiding. Silence is discipline. It is the ability to move forward without applause. It is choosing progress over validation. When you stop telling everyone what you are doing, you start doing more. When you stop explaining why you are tired, focused, or distant, you recover energy. That energy compounds. Quiet effort accumulates power. Your story is sacred because it is unfinished. It is still forming you. Let it form without interruption. Every time you speak too soon, you freeze a version of yourself that may no longer fit tomorrow. Growth requires freedom to change direction without defending it. Silence gives you that freedom. There is also danger in being understood too early. When people think they know your limits, place expectations on you. Those expectations can become invisible chains. You begin to act in ways that maintain an image instead of honoring truth. When no one knows your full story, you are lighter. You move faster. You adapt without permission. Let your discipline speak instead. Let consistency tell the story. Let the way you show up every day reveal who you are becoming. Results do not need explanation. They cannot be argued with. Stand where words collapse. You do not need to narrate your pain to prove you have endured. You do not need to announce your plans to prove you are serious. You do not need to defend your silence to prove you are focused. Those who matter will recognize your direction by your behavior, not your speech. Understand this clearly. Privacy is not fear. It is wisdom. Strongest people you will ever meet are not loud about their struggles or their ambitions. They are busy. They are deliberate. They are patient. They allow time to do its work. There will come a moment when your presence feels different, when your confidence is grounded, when your results are visible. At that point, no explanation will be required. People will ask how it happened. They will say it was sudden. They will say you changed quickly. Only you will know how long the work has been happening in silence. Move quietly. Protect your focus. Guard your energy. Let others talk while you build. Let them misunderstand while you grow. Let them doubt while you prepare. Because when the time comes, your story will no longer need to be told. It will be seen. Silence is strength because it requires control, and control is the foundation of all power. In a world that rewards noise, speed, and constant explanation, choosing silence is an act of discipline. Most people speak not because they have something meaningful to say, because they are uncomfortable with stillness. They fear being overlooked, misunderstood, or forgotten. Silence, however, does not erase presence, it refines it. When you do not rush to speak, you observe more. When you observe more, you understand deeper. Understanding creates precision, and precision is strength. Silence is not the absence of action. It is the space where action is sharpened. Strongest movements are born in quiet preparation, not public announcements. Loud intentions often mask weak commitment. 1. Someone constantly talks about what they will do. It is often because they have not yet done it. Silence removes the pressure to perform for others and redirects energy inward where growth actually happens. It allows effort to compound without interference. What is built quietly is harder to shake. There is power in withholding information. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, struggles, or plans. Words give others influence over you. Once spoken, they can be questioned, doubted, mocked, or distorted. Silence protects what is unfinished. It keeps your focus intact. A mind that is always explaining itself is a mind that is always divided. Silence gathers that scattered energy and concentrates it. Concentration creates momentum, and momentum creates change. Silence also builds emotional strength. When you do not react immediately, you gain control over your impulses. Many conflicts exist only because someone felt the need to respond. Silence interrupts that cycle. It gives you time to choose your response rather than surrendering to reaction. This restraint is not weakness, it is mastery. Anyone can speak when provoked. Few can remain silent and steady. The ability to stay calm while others demand noise is a form of dominance that does not need to announce itself. There is a difference between being silent and being empty. Silence is full. It is full of awareness, intention, and readiness. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. People listen not because you are loud, but because you are selective. Silence trains others to pay attention. It creates presence without effort. A quiet person who moves with purpose often commands more respect than someone who fills every moment with sound. Silence strengthens resilience. When you stop seeking validation through words, you become less dependent on external approval. You learn to trust your own process. This independence is critical for long-term growth. External praise fades quickly, and criticism arrives without warning. Silence keeps you grounded regardless of either. It builds an internal reference point that does not shift with opinions. From that stability comes confidence that does not need to be defended. In silence, you hear what noise hides. You hear your weaknesses, your doubts, your patterns. This can be uncomfortable, which is why many avoid it. But discomfort is where development begins. Silence forces honesty. It removes distractions and leaves you alone with yourself. That confrontation is necessary. Without it, improvement is superficial. With it, change is deep and lasting. Silence also teaches patience. When you are not constantly speaking or reacting, time slows. You begin to understand timing. You learn when to act and when to wait. Impatience often leads to premature exposure, wasted effort, and unnecessary conflict. Silence allows strategies to mature. It lets situations reveal themselves fully before you step in. Those who move too fast often move twice. Those who wait move once with precision. There is strength in being underestimated. Silence contributes to that. When you do not reveal everything you know or plan, others fill the gaps with assumptions. Often, they assume less. This creates space to grow without pressure. When results finally appear, they carry more impact. Surprise is a powerful force. Shifts dynamics instantly. Silence sets the stage for it. Silence sharpens discipline. It removes excuses. When you stop talking about what you want, all that remains is what you do. Progress becomes private. Effort becomes consistent rather than performative. This builds integrity. You begin to act because it aligns with your standards, not because it earns attention. That internal alignment is rare, and rarity is power. In silence, ego weakens. The need to be seen, heard, and acknowledged fades. What replaces it is clarity. You start to see what truly matters and what was only noise. Many ambitions dissolve in silence because they were never real. what remains is solid. Solidity becomes the base upon which real strength is built. Silence is not passive. It is intentional. It is a choice made repeatedly in moments where speaking would be easier. Each time you choose silence, you train restraint. Each time you train restraint, you increase control. Control over speech leads to control over action. Control over action leads to control over direction. Direction determines outcomes. Those who understand silence do not fear being unnoticed. They know visibility is temporary, but impact is lasting. They do not rush to explain themselves because they are too busy refining themselves. They understand that when the moment arrives, words will be unnecessary. The work will be evident. The presence will be felt. The strength will be unmistakable even without being named, even without being described, even without being acknowledged. Because silence has already done its work long before anyone was paying attention. Your journey is sacred because it is yours alone, shaped by experiences no one else has lived, carried by strength no one else has had to develop. It is not a performance, not a story meant for public approval, and not a path designed to be understood by everyone. The moment you treat your journey as something to be displayed, it begins to lose its depth. What is sacred requires protection, and protection begins with restraint. Every step you take carries weight, even when no one sees it. The struggles that formed you, the failures that humbled you, the discipline that reshaped you were not created for commentary. They were created to forge you. When you expose every detail of your journey, you invite opinions into a space that should be reserved for growth. Opinions are rarely neutral. They shape doubt, comparison, and distraction. A sacred journey cannot evolve freely when it is constantly observed. There are seasons in life that demand privacy. Growth is one of them. Just as wounds heal best when covered, transformation happens best away from unnecessary attention. When you are becoming something new, you are vulnerable. That vulnerability is not meant to be evaluated. It is meant to be honored through silence and patience. Protecting your journey means allowing it to unfold at its own pace, without pressure to explain where you are or why you are not further along. Not everyone who listens understands. Not everyone who understands supports. Many will interpret your path through the lens of their own limitations. They will measure your progress against timelines that were never yours. They will offer advice shaped by fears you no longer carry. When you make your journey public, you risk inheriting expectations that do not belong to you. Sacred things lose clarity when they are handled by too many hands. There is a difference between seeking guidance and seeking validation. Running through the park, guidance comes from those who have walked similar terrain and earned the right to speak into your process. Validation often comes from those watching from the sidelines. Validation is loud but temporary. Guidance is quiet but enduring. When your journey is sacred, you choose carefully who is allowed to witness it. You do not confuse accessibility with authenticity. Your journey is also sacred because it is unfinished. What is unfinished should not be judged. Becoming requires space to make mistakes without explanation. It requires room to change direction without apology. When you feel obligated to keep others informed, you may trap yourself in identities that no longer fit. Sacred journeys remain fluid. They allow reinvention without announcement. Privacy strengthens intention. When no one is watching, your reasons become clearer. You act not to impress but to align. This alignment builds integrity. Integrity is the quiet agreement between who you are and what you do. Once broken, it is difficult to restore. Protecting your journey protects your integrity by removing external pressure from internal decisions. Your journey is not linear, and sacred paths rarely are. There will be pauses, detours, and moments of doubt that cannot be explained neatly. Explaining them forces simplification, and simplification often distorts truth. Silence allows complexity to exist without justification. It allows you to honor your process even when it does not make sense to others. There is strength in moving without witnesses. Build self-trust. When you stop narrating your progress, you begin to listen to yourself more closely. You learn to recognize your own signals of growth, exhaustion, and readiness. This awareness cannot develop when your attention is focused outward. Sacred journeys turn attention inward, where real direction is found. Sharing too early can weaken resolve. Words release energy. When you speak about plans prematurely, the mind mistakes expression for execution. This creates a false sense of progress. Sacred journeys conserve energy. They understand that effort must be spent on action, not announcement. What is protected grows stronger. Your journey is sacred because it will change you in ways you cannot yet predict. The version of you that begins the path is not the version that completes it. Public expectations resist change. Silence allows evolution. It grants permission to outgrow past decisions without defending them. Growth requires the freedom to let go of who you were without being questioned about who you are becoming. Comparison fades when the journey is kept sacred. Once exposed, your path becomes vulnerable to measurement against others. Comparison distorts motivation. It shifts focus from progress to position. Sacred journeys prioritize depth over speed, alignment over approval. They move forward even when no one is clapping. There will come a time when your journey becomes visible through results, presence, and character. At that point, explanation is unnecessary. What was sacred does not need translation. It is felt. Until then, protection is wisdom. Silence is respect. Patience is devotion to the process. To honor your journey is to treat it with care. Not everything meaningful needs to be shared. Not every struggle needs a witness. Some paths are meant to be walked quietly, with intention, discipline, and trust. When you keep your journey sacred, you allow it to shape you fully, without interruption, without distortion, without compromise, becoming something solid, something grounded, something unmistakably your own, formed in truth rather than noise, guided by purpose rather than opinion, strengthened by solitude rather than applause. Energy is limited, and once this is understood, life begins to change. Every thought you entertain, every conversation you engage in, every reaction you allow costs something. Most people live as if their energy is endless, spending it carelessly on distractions, explanations, arguments, and approval. Over time, they feel drained without knowing why. Begins with the awareness that energy must be guarded with the same discipline as time. Because once it is gone, it cannot be recovered in the same form. Attention is one of the most expensive currencies of energy. Where attention goes, energy follows. When attention is scattered, energy leaks. Endless scrolling, unnecessary conversations, mental comparisons, and emotional reactions pull energy in many directions at once. The mind becomes crowded, the body becomes tired, and focus weakens. Protecting energy requires deciding what deserves attention and what does not. Not everything that demands your focus is entitled to it. Explaining yourself is one of the fastest ways to lose energy. Constantly justifying your choices, defending your pace, or clarifying your intentions pulls you away from action. The need to be understood by everyone is a heavy burden. Understanding is rare, and seeking it from the wrong places is exhausting. When you stop explaining, you reclaim energy. You begin to move forward instead of in circles. Silence becomes a form of conservation. Emotional reactions are another drain. Anger, resentment, frustration consume energy without producing progress. They feel powerful in the moment but leave weakness behind. Protecting energy does not mean suppressing emotion. It means not feeding it unnecessarily. Pausing before reacting creates distance. In that distance, energy is preserved. What would have been wasted in conflict can be redirected into growth. Boundaries exist to protect energy. Without them, energy is constantly accessed by others. Saying yes too often, being available at all times, carrying responsibilities that are not yours deplete inner reserves. Boundaries are not acts of rejection, they are acts of self-respect. When boundaries are clear, energy flows where it is most needed. When they are weak, energy is scattered and drained by obligations that do not align with purpose. Energy is also lost through overexposure. Sharing too much of your inner world invites external influence. Opinions, expectations, and judgments begin to shape your thinking. This mental noise is tiring. Protecting energy means choosing privacy where necessary. Not every thought needs a response. Every plan needs an audience. Privacy reduces interference. Reduced interference allows energy to deepen rather than spread thin. Physical habits affect energy more than most realize. Poor sleep, inconsistent routines, and neglect of the body slowly erode strength. Energy protection is not only mental or emotional, it is physical. The body carries the mind. When the body is drained, discipline becomes harder. Caring for the body is not indulgence, it is maintenance. Without maintenance, energy declines, no matter how strong the intention. Decision fatigue is another hidden drain. Too many choices exhaust the mind. When everything is open, nothing is clear. Simplifying life conserves energy. Routine reduces unnecessary decisions. Structure creates stability. With fewer decisions to make, more energy remains for meaningful work. This is why disciplined lives appear simple from the outside, but powerful from within. Energy is also wasted on comparison. Watching others, measuring progress, and questioning your path creates constant mental friction. Comparison shifts focus outward and fractures motivation. Protecting energy requires returning attention to your own work. Progress accelerates when energy is not divided by envy or self-doubt. Silence toward others' path strengthens commitment to your own. Rest is not weakness, it is strategy. Without rest, energy debt accumulates. Eventually, it demands payment through burnout, illness, or loss of focus. Rest restores clarity. It allows energy to renew rather than collapse. Protecting energy includes knowing when to stop. Pushing endlessly without recovery does not build strength, it erodes it. Energy must be invested, not spent. Investment multiplies. Spending depletes. Learning, training, reflection, and disciplined action return energy in the form of competence and confidence. Gossip, argument, and distraction return nothing. Awareness of this difference changes behavior. You begin to ask whether an action will strengthen or weaken you. Over time, this question becomes instinct. Protecting energy requires courage. Often means disappointing others. It means stepping back, staying quiet, and refusing to engage. Many fear this because they equate availability with worth. True worth is not measured by how much energy you give away, but by how well you use what you have. When energy is protected, presence becomes stronger. When presence is strong, fewer words are needed. As energy is protected, life becomes clearer. Focus sharpens. Actions align. Movement becomes deliberate rather than reactive. Strength is no longer forced, it is sustained. You stop chasing motivation and begin relying on discipline. Discipline is efficient. It wastes nothing. When energy is guarded, progress becomes steady. There is less urgency, less noise, less confusion. What remains is direction. Direction gives meaning to effort. Effort, when supported by protected energy, compounds over time. This compounding creates resilience that does not depend on mood or circumstance. Understanding that energy is limited changes how you speak, move, and choose. It teaches restraint without suppression, intensity without chaos, and commitment without burnout. Those who protect their energy are not detached from life. They are deeply engaged with what matters and unreachable by what does not, moving forward with quiet strength, clear intention, and reserves intact, knowing that every conserved moment adds weight to the next decisive action, allowing progress to continue without fracture, without exhaustion, without loss of self in the noise surrounding them. Results speak louder than stories because reality cannot be argued with. Words are flexible, persuasive, and often comforting, but results are rigid. They exist whether anyone approves of them or not. Stories can be shaped to sound impressive, resilient, or justified. Results stand on their own. They do not need context, explanation, or defense. When something is real, it is visible through outcomes, not narration. Many people confuse effort with achievement. They talk about how hard they are trying, how much they have learned, or how far they intend to go. Effort matters, but effort without results remains internal. Stories about effort may earn sympathy or encouragement, but they do not create impact. Results convert effort into proof. They turn intention into evidence. This is why those who focus on results speak less. Their work answers questions before they are asked. Stories invite interpretation. Results limit it. When you tell a story, listeners filter it through their own experiences, biases, and doubts. Each person hears something different. Results reduce ambiguity. They simplify perception. A finished task, a transformed habit, a visible skill leaves little room for debate. Clarity is powerful, and clarity comes from outcomes, not explanations. Talking too much about the process can weaken commitment. When progress is constantly narrated, mind receives a sense of completion before the work is done. This false closure reduces urgency. Results require patience, repetition, and endurance in silence. They demand that satisfaction be delayed. Those who chase stories often seek immediate recognition. Those who chase results accept invisibility. For a time, stories can protect ego. They soften failure, justify delays, and reframe setbacks. While reflection is necessary, excessive storytelling can become avoidance. It allows movement without direction. Results, however, force accountability. They expose gaps between intention and execution. This exposure can be uncomfortable. Discomfort is where growth accelerates. Results also create trust. Words promise, results deliver. Over time, people stop listening to stories and start watching behavior. Consistent outcomes build credibility without persuasion. Credibility earned through results does not fade easily because it is anchored in experience rather than belief. This kind of trust cannot be rushed or manufactured. Focusing on results simplifies priorities. When outcomes matter more than narratives, distractions lose appeal. Energy is directed toward actions that move the needle. Is less interest in appearing productive and more commitment to being effective. This shift changes how time is used, how effort is measured, and how success is defined. Results speak across language, culture, and opinion. They are universal. A strong performance, a completed project, a disciplined routine communicates without translation. Stories require attention and patience. Results require only observation. This is why results carry authority. They do not ask to be believed. They demonstrate. Those who rely on stories often feel the need to defend themselves. Defense consumes energy. Results remove the need for defense. When outcomes are clear, explanation becomes optional, silence becomes easier, presence becomes heavier. The weight of results is felt even when nothing is said. Stories can be forgotten. Results leave traces. They change circumstances, environments, and opportunities. A story may inspire briefly, but a result reshapes reality. This is the difference between motivation and transformation. Motivation fades, transformation remains. Results also refine identity. When actions consistently produce outcomes, self-image aligns with reality. Confidence becomes grounded rather than imagined. There is less need to convince oneself or others. The work done becomes the answer to internal doubt. This internal alignment reduces anxiety and increases focus. Comparison loses power when results are the metric. Stories invite comparison because they are incomplete. Results reveal individual paths. People may have similar stories, but their outcomes differ. This highlights the truth that progress is personal. Measuring results against personal standards fosters growth without resentment. There is discipline in allowing results to speak. It requires restraint, patience, and faith in the process. It means resisting the urge to explain struggles before they have produced something meaningful. This restraint strengthens character. It builds the ability to work without applause. Results expose reality, and reality is the most effective teacher. When outcomes fall short, feedback is immediate. Adjustments can be made. Stories may delay this feedback by cushioning truth. Results are honest. They reveal what works and what does not without emotion. Those who understand the power of results choose substance over appearance. They invest time where returns are measurable. They accept that recognition may come late or not at all. What matters is that progress is real. This mindset creates resilience. External noise loses influence. Results speak in moments when stories fail. When pressure is high, explanations collapse, only preparation remains. Results are preparation made visible. They show what has been practiced, repeated, and internalized. Under stress, there is no time for stories. Outcomes emerge automatically. In the long run, stories blur together. Everyone has one, results separate. They distinguish commitment from interest, discipline from intention, action from imagination. This separation is not judgment, it is clarity. Clarity directs effort where it counts. When results become the focus, language changes. Instead of describing plans, there is movement. Instead of justifying delays, there is adjustment. Instead of seeking recognition, there is refinement. Life becomes quieter but heavier with meaning. Those who let results speak do not rush visibility. They allow time to do its work. They understand that silence combined with action creates impact that words cannot replicate. When results finally appear, they stand alone, unchallenged, unmistakable, carrying the weight of every unseen hour, every repeated effort, every disciplined choice made without witnesses, shaping reality in a way no story ever could. Not everyone is meant to understand you, and accepting this is a form of freedom. Many people exhaust themselves trying to be clear, relatable, and acceptable to everyone they encounter. They explain their choices, justify their pace, and soften their edges in hopes of being understood. Effort rarely leads to connection. More often, it leads to delusion. When you try to make yourself comprehensible to everyone, you begin to move away from who you actually are. Understanding requires shared context. Most people do not share your experiences, your values, or your internal battles. They see your actions through the lens of their own lives. What makes sense to you may seem strange or unnecessary to them. This does not mean you are wrong. It means you are different. Difference does not need permission to exist. It needs acceptance, especially from yourself. The desire to be understood often comes from a fear of being misjudged. Misjudgment feels threatening because it suggests rejection. Rejection is not always personal. Often it is simply incompatibility. Expecting universal understanding assumes that everyone should think alike, value the same things, and move at the same pace. This assumption ignores reality. People are shaped by different pressures, priorities, and limitations. Understanding cannot be forced where alignment does not exist. When you constantly explain yourself, you give others authority over your identity. You begin to adjust your behavior to avoid confusion or criticism. Over time, this adjustment becomes self-censorship. You shrink your ambition, soften your discipline, and slow your growth to remain comfortable for others. This is a quiet form of self-betrayal. Growth was never meant to be convenient for everyone watching. Some people are only capable of understanding what they are ready to live. If they have not committed to discipline, your consistency will seem extreme. If they have not embraced risk, your courage will seem reckless. If they have not faced solitude, your independence will seem cold. Their misunderstanding reflects their current limits, not your direction. Silence becomes important when understanding is absent. Explaining yourself repeatedly drains energy and creates resistance. Silence removes friction. It allows you to move forward without debate. It also reveals who is willing to observe rather than judge. Those who truly care will seek understanding through patience, not interrogation. Misunderstanding is often the price of depth. Surface-level behavior is easy to explain. Depth requires context, time, and experience. Most people do not invest that time. They prefer quick conclusions. Accepting this frees you from the burden of clarity. You stop translating yourself into versions that are easier to digest. There is strength in allowing others to misunderstand you. It builds resilience. When you no longer rely on external comprehension, you become anchored internally. Decisions are made based on alignment rather than approval. This internal anchor keeps you steady when opinions shift. It allows you to remain consistent even when validation disappears. Trying to be understood by everyone also invites comparison. People will measure your path against theirs and question why it looks different. These comparisons often come disguised as concern or advice. While some guidance is valuable, much of it is rooted in projection. Others suggest what they would do, not what you should do. Recognizing this protects your focus. Understanding evolves over time. Some who misunderstand you now may understand you later. Others may never understand you at all. Neither outcome should determine your movement. Growth cannot wait for consensus. Progress requires action despite uncertainty. Waiting to be understood is often another form of delay. There is also peace in selective explanation. You are allowed to choose who has access to your inner world. Not every relationship requires full transparency. Depth belongs where trust exists. Oversharing in environments that cannot hold it creates disappointment. Protecting your inner life is an act of self-respect. When you accept that not everyone is meant to understand you, you stop defending your pace. You stop arguing with doubt. You stop performing your life for an audience. This creates space for real work. Work done in this space is quieter but stronger. Misunderstanding can be used as a filter. Those who judge quickly remove themselves. Those who stay curious reveal themselves. This natural sorting saves time and energy. You learn who belongs in your life without confrontation. The need to be understood often fades as self-trust grows. When you know why you do what you do, external confusion loses power. You do not need agreement to proceed. You need clarity. Clarity comes from alignment, not consensus. There will always be people who misunderstand your silence as arrogance, your focus as obsession, your boundaries as distance. Let them. Correcting every misinterpretation is exhausting and unnecessary. Your responsibility is not to manage perceptions, but to live in truth. Being misunderstood can feel lonely, but it also sharpens independence. It teaches you to stand alone without bitterness, strengthens conviction without rigidity. You learn to move without needing constant affirmation. Those who are meant to understand you will not require lengthy explanations. They will recognize intention through consistency. They will see values through behavior. Their understanding will feel effortless because it is rooted in respect, not curiosity. Accepting misunderstanding does not mean withdrawing from the world. It means engaging without self-erasure. It means speaking when it matters and staying silent when it does not. It means choosing authenticity over comfort. Not everyone is meant to understand you, because not everyone is meant to walk your path. Your direction will make sense to those who are aligned with it and confuse those who are not. This confusion is not a problem to solve, but a reality to accept, allowing you to move forward without hesitation, without apology, without the need to compress your depth into something more convenient, trusting that clarity of purpose is more important than clarity of perception, and that your responsibility is to continue becoming who you are meant to be regardless of who understands it and who never will. Move in stillness, strike with purpose, because uncontrolled movement wastes strength and unfocused action creates noise without impact. Stillness is not the absence of motion, it is the mastery of it. It is the state where awareness is heightened, intention is clear, energy is conserved. From stillness, movement becomes deliberate rather than reactive. Purpose replaces impulse. Most people are constantly moving but rarely advancing. They react to every stimulus, respond to every demand, and chase every opportunity. This constant motion creates the illusion of progress while draining energy. Stillness interrupts this cycle. It creates space to see what actually matters. In stillness, priorities become visible. Without stillness, action is scattered. Stillness sharpens perception. When the mind is quiet, patterns emerge. You begin to notice timing, weaknesses, and openings. Noise hides opportunity. Stillness reveals it. Those who rush often miss the moment that matters. Those who wait with awareness recognize it immediately. This is not hesitation, it is preparation. Moving in stillness requires restraint. It means resisting the urge to announce, to explain, to prove. Restraint is a skill developed through discipline. Each time you choose not to react, you strengthen control. Control over reaction leads to control over direction. Direction determines effectiveness. Purpose gives meaning to action. Without purpose, movement is random. With purpose, even small actions carry weight. Purpose is not urgency. Urgency is driven by fear of missing out. Purpose is driven by clarity of intention. It knows when to wait and when to act. It does not rush because it trusts timing. Striking with purpose does not mean aggression. It means precision. Precision requires understanding. Understanding comes from observation. Observation requires stillness. Sequence cannot be skipped. When people act without understanding, they rely on force. Force is inefficient. Precision achieves more with less. Stillness also protects energy. When you stop reacting to everything, energy accumulates. Stored energy becomes power when directed intentionally. Power without direction is chaos. Direction without power is ineffective. This balances both. There is confidence in controlled movement. It does not seek attention. It does not need validation. It moves because movement is necessary, not because it is noticed. This confidence is quiet but undeniable. It unsettles those who rely on noise to feel significant. Purposeful action is rare because it requires patience. Many abandon stillness too soon. They mistake waiting for weakness. In reality, waiting without awareness is weakness. Waiting with awareness is strength. It is the difference between delay and readiness. When the moment arrives, action must be decisive. Purposeful strikes are not hesitant. They are the result of long preparation compressed into a single moment. To outsiders, it appears sudden. In truth, it is inevitable. Every quiet step led there. Stillness builds discipline. Discipline builds consistency. Consistency builds capability. Capability creates confidence. Confidence allows restraint. This cycle reinforces itself. Once established, movement becomes efficient. Nothing is wasted. Moving in stillness also reduces unnecessary conflict. When you do not engage prematurely, situations often resolve themselves. Many battles exist only because someone felt compelled to act Stillness filters which battles matter. Purpose determines which are worth entering. There is a difference between being passive and being still. Passivity avoids responsibility. Stillness embraces it. It accepts the weight of choice. Each action is chosen, not triggered. This choice is what gives action meaning. Purpose aligns action with values. Without alignment, even successful action feels hollow. With alignment, even difficult action feels right. Purpose anchors effort in something deeper than outcome. It connects action to identity. Moving in stillness requires trust in oneself. It means believing that you do not need to prove readiness through constant motion. It means knowing that preparation is happening even when nothing is visible. This trust grows through experience. Each time patience leads to success, confidence deepens. Purposeful strikes often change the environment. They alter dynamics. This is why timing matters. Acting too early dulls impact. Acting too late misses opportunity. Stillness refines timing. Purpose clarifies aim. Those who move in stillness do not chase attention. They allow attention to come when impact is made. They understand that visibility without substance fades quickly. Substance without visibility eventually becomes undeniable. Stillness strengthens emotional control. When emotions are observed rather than acted upon, clarity returns. Emotional clarity improves decision-making. Decisions made from clarity are more effective and less regrettable. Purpose simplifies complexity. It removes unnecessary options. When purpose is clear, choices become obvious. Energy is not wasted on indecision. Movement becomes direct. In environments filled with noise, stillness stands out. It creates contrast. This contrast amplifies impact when action finally occurs. A single decisive move can outweigh countless reactive ones. Moving in stillness is a long-term strategy. It favors sustainability over intensity. It builds strength that lasts. It allows growth without burnout. Purpose guides pace. When stillness and purpose combine, action becomes inevitable rather than forced. It feels natural, grounded, and precise. There is no rush and no hesitation, only alignment. Those who master this do not appear busy, yet they are effective. They do not speak often, yet they are heard. They do not move constantly. When they move, outcomes shift. Their strength is not in motion alone, but in the discipline to remain still until movement matters. Storing intent, refining awareness, conserving energy, and then releasing it fully in moments that count, shaping results with minimal effort and maximum impact through controlled action, guided by clarity rather than impulse.